now in Bristol, just about to set off for the wild west of Wales to go and see Rachel Podger, one of the world's leading Baroque violinists. I'm excited, of course, to go and see her, but of course, to go west is quite unusual. Most of the time we're going east to London to see these artists, so it's going to be wonderful to see Rachel in her hometown, the beautiful town of Brecon. And it's going to be great to see how this beautiful town feeds her creativity, so let's go. We're going to pop in on Abergavenny Music and see how much Rachel badgers them to put her CDs on the front racks. I see from this map that actually you're the only classical music record shop in Wales.
I don't know whether that's quite true. It's just the ones that belong to the independent classical specialist. But yeah, we were as busy as we've ever been. I've been working here for 12 years now, so...
I think people like the browsing though, don't they? You don't get that with the
People do,
post.
yes.
You feel like coming in and sort of having a look, seeing what's behind there.
We just had a gentleman who bought about 6 discs. He said, I keep on meaning to ring you up, and then I think, no, it's worth the 40 miles drive to come and see you and have a browse. So.
Yeah. Does Rachel come in and sort of make sure her discs at the front of the racks?
No. She comes in and as a customer, and last year on Record Store Day she came in and played for us, which is lovely. We set up a little rostrum there, and she answered questions, and it was a lovely morning.
She's a sort of local hero, is she?
Oh yes. And the festival in October is very popular, and it's a lovely event.
Hello, Rachel.
Nice to meet you.
Meet you, hello.
This is not at all strange.
It's not at all. So here in Podger Towers.
Podger Towers in
Podger
Brecon.
Towers, exactly. I mean, I can see why you moved here. I have to say.
So gorgeous.
I mean,
although today it's better than yesterday. Yesterday it was like day in November, blustery, and you couldn't see any of the view. But when we looked at this place 8 years ago, the first thing when we came up the track, the first thing we saw was a pumpkin in the pantry.
Right.
And we thought, oh, rustic, because we came from London. And then we saw the view, and it was a beautiful day. Thought, right.
Yes, that's the place to be. And of course, you now have the freedom to sort of set up this festival, which of course you wouldn't have been able to do necessarily in Dorset or in London, because there are so many.
Yes, exactly. There are lots of festivals already taken. Well, actually, we kind of dreamt, the way you dream. So, wouldn't it be fun to have a festival, having played at so many over the years, and getting to know, so many people who actually put it on, and just the fun of it, also the hard work of it, seeing that a bit too.
I think many festivals around the country sort of draft in musicians, and I think the great thing about this one is that not only do you play yourself, but you also grab people from the area to take part, and it's, I think there's a real sense of community, and that's the thing that gives it the idea of it being a festival, I suppose.
Yes, so it has a lovely, lovely festive spirit. I mean, not just the last concert, which, as you say, drafted in lots of locals, not just kind of amateur adults, but also kids as well, kind of above grade 5. Lots of my students, current students in Cardiff or in London or wherever, and also students who've moved on, come back and just want to play and have fun, and lots of parties, of course.
Yes,
in this very room, crowded with people. Really good fun.
One of the things I'm sort of intrigued about is the sort of life of an international artist based in Brecon,
Because I mean, where's your nearest airport, and how do you do the whole travelling thing? I mean, I imagine
Yeah.
it's that.
Can you see the bags?
Well, of course, the advantage is you get to come back here after every time. Of
It's
being
really
away.
worth the travel,
And it really
I must
is, I'm
say.
sure.
It's a drag. It's complete drag. But once you're on the kind of stretch from Abergavenny and you see the beacons, you think, oh yes, now I remember. And of course, there's the draw of the family, of course, who are very happy here.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, extremely important. Maybe the most important thing, actually, that the family is well based.
But you've got a lot of sort of professorships and visiting professorships and that sort of thing. So do you still do the Copenhagen one? And you do...
I do. I haven't been this year, actually. But I stopped going there regularly. It was just too much because I was going regularly to other places, obviously, because I'm in Cardiff about once a week when I'm at home, because it's only an hour's drive.
Yeah, and it's a super place actually now, the Welsh College.
Brilliant place, yes, with all the new facilities. It's really, really great. It's really taken off, and the historical department is growing, so that's all good.
Good.
Yeah.
And so I'm also intrigued about how one sort of teaches students the whole idea of historical performance, or authentic in inverted commas. You know, the idea of sort of I mean, you teach in America, for example, as well. So the approaches must be quite different wherever you go. I mean, teaching. Of course,
yeah.
Teaching it is all. I mean, the whole idea of performing authentically is all about an accrued experience, and not necessarily a scientific.
Yes, it's definitely not by the book anymore. Well, not with me. Hopefully, it's there's some kind of balance, that there is some kind of scientific evidence for things. But I pretty much leave that up to the students, to be honest. And also, most of the students are taking part in some kind of course at the institution, and they will be fed most of the kind of theoretical stuff. Of course, you can't separate things. I mean, you need to be historically aware of what was going on, you know, when whoever wrote whatever they wrote, whether they were in the middle of a war, or which country they were in, or what their family circumstances were. All those things. Really significant and fascinating, really fascinating. So what I try to impart to the student is an enthusiasm and an interest to find out, and then I point them in the right directions. And luckily, our music room here, you know, over the years collected quite a few books, and they say, all right, we've got to read that, and throw books at them.
So this is where it all happens. This is where you do your practice.
This is where I practice.
Yeah, with its inspirational view.
Got a lovely view. There's our garden out there. Yes, the beacons are just around the corner. I'll try not to bash into that with the bow. Actually, I tend to kind of move around a bit. Lots and lots of music all over the place. Yeah. And see, the violas are in charge. That's Tim's.
Right. Yes, which is clearly not the case. So we've got some Biber here.
Yes, because I've just literally the last 3 days recorded this disc. And Biber is part of it, and I'm going to call it the Guardian Angel, because of course this is the last sonata of his set, called the Mystery Sonatas, sometimes called the Rosary Sonatas, and every other sonata has a bassa continua, of course, with it. And this last one is just solo violin, and each sonata has an engraving, lovely picture at the beginning, and depicts a stage in the life of Christ. And then you have this this sonata at the end, and it's called the Guardian Angel. This angel with wings, and there's a little child, and he's looking after it. And I have a rather kind of maybe sentimental view of this piece, but I think that this idea of the Guardian Angel is in the bass line, because the bass line never deserts you. It's constantly there.
wanted to bring you back actually to the Bach recording you've just done actually, because it does seem to me no matter what you do record, the Mozart, the Rameau, the Vivaldi, you then seem to come back to Bach, and there seems to be periodic times in your life when you think, right, now time for some more Bach, and it seems to be a bit of a sort of a lodestar, if you like.
Yes, it is. That's a very nice way of putting it. I suppose it's kind of, it hasn't really been a conscious decision, if I'm really honest.
Right.
It's that Bach has always been there, right from the word go, and of course recitals of solo Bach are in my diary all the time. I've been doing lots of cantatas on the Royal Academy of Music in their series. Can't live without it.
No.
Absolutely not. Whether I try and fumble my way through something on the keyboard, which is not so good, but very therapeutic.
We won't hear you doing
no.
that on the records. No.
Actually, the next challenge is to try it on a harp, because I've got a harp.
Right.
And I'm rubbish because I haven't got any time to practice. But just imagine playing an invention on a harp, wouldn't that be wonderful?
That'd be incredible. That'd be really good.
Or on the violin. I think transposing things and arranging things for the violin is great. And actually for this latest disc, I've just come back from that. I thought of doing the flute partita, which of course originally is an A minor, solo flute. And that's it. There it is. There it is. Yeah, there's his handwriting. Although we're not quite sure whether it's all his handwriting. I think we think he started off writing, and then maybe one of his students, Art Nicole or so, maybe he got too busy, had to go and finish a cantata or something, and then say, well, finish that off.
Yes, quite.
Yeah.
In the style.
That's right. Yeah, it's because it's a bit scrappy, isn't it, the writing later on. But so I put that downotone into G minor because it felt better on the violin, because you've got these wonderful overtones. I mean, A minor, you get great overtones, but it felt better on G minor.
I suppose with the A minor, you get an awful lot of open E's, which I suppose can be a bit...
You do, yeah. But it just felt too high, because a lot of it lies very high, obviously, because it's for the flute. I tried it in D minor, which then, of course, felt too low, especially in the dances later. You get the kind of all the lively, jolly kind of rhythmic, bouncy shapes. Too low on the G string doesn't really work. Yeah. So G minor felt good. Anyway, so I have just been playing some Bach, even though I've recorded apparently all the solo violin music. Yeah. So I just found this to do.
One. Yeah. Talking of D minor, I mean, I thought it was quite interesting that this was the first time that you recorded the double violin concerto. Is that right? With my group, actually, I did record it in '96 with Andrew Manzi. Right, but it is an extraordinary piece, isn't it? I mean, it just remains fresh. You have to do an awful lot of damage to it in order for it to break
we did
down.
try. We did try.
But it does sound remarkably fresh. You've got your little Brecon Baroque.
Yes, so it's the first time I did it with my own group.
Exactly, with a sort of your sort of group of friends and acquaintances and colleagues, and you grab them together and put them in a church in is it Hampstead? Actually,
London we did it, Crystal Palace,
right?
Big church, beautiful acoustic. Mm-hmm. Yes, no, it was great. It felt very extremely familiar. Of course, I mean I've known it since I'm about 12 or something, I suppose. That's when you first play it, don't you? Yep. And I mean, you could also go the other way. You could think, oh no, I can't record that. I know it too well. I've already done it before. But in the end, I try and strip things off those kind of feelings and just see it for what it is, and not put too much of myself into it. Although of course you can't help putting something of yourself into it because it is you playing. But if you know what I mean, kind of being a channel for what is there.
And it does help. It does help, I'm sure, having the musicians around you whom you know and have worked with a lot.
Yes.
And therefore it takes the pressure off, and it takes.
It's great. It's so familiar and in a way quite cosy. Of course, there are always challenges.
Triple's an interesting piece. The arrangement of the three harpsichords.
Yes, I love that piece. It's just so buoyant, isn't it? And just so lively. I mean, it's such a joy to play. I must say, and in D major, it's brilliant for the violin. I mean, the more soloists you have, the more of a laugh it probably gets, isn't it? Because there's this idea of a shared experience, and it's very intimate, and you're also chasing each other and answering each other, and it becomes a. And it does make a difference having single strings, of course. Not an orchestra as such, but so each part, there's only one voice on each part, and especially in the Bach double. Because of course on the title page it says concerto à 6, so for 6 players rather than 2 violins, with orchestra. So that makes a huge difference. So everyone's kind of concertoing at the same time, you know.
And the responsibility of everyone to be as lively and as
and prompt and everything.
spontaneous and all that stuff
direct
as well.
and with expression.
Yeah.
Yeah, it becomes extremely expressive and really fun. It's like a bit like a party.
Yeah.
Of course, then you need to knuckle down and kind of get it right as well.
But I wanted to talk about actually, which we haven't done yet, about the instruments themselves, because and the strings that you use and the bows that you use.
Okay. Technical stuff.
I think I think what interests me is everyone's instrument fairly similar of a similar period. I mean, obviously there are reconstructions, some of them are modern copies, but is it important, do you think, to make sure that everyone's violin is of a particular style and everyone's bow is of a particular style and the strings are of the same make, be they gut or whatever you're using?
I'm not a purist in that way. I think it's important to have a Baroque setup, yeah. And of course it's preferable if it's a beautiful old Italian violin. That's fantastic. But I think the choice of bow is fairly personal. And when people say, "Oh, can you choose a bow for me?" It doesn't work because everyone has a different take on what works for them. So I think it's quite personal, and you need to. It's a kind of self-knowledge thing. After a while, you know what works for you, what will sound good, and also if it's a good bow, it'll teach you what to do. And how to make a good sound.
I suppose everyone's, the ratios of their arms, their elbows, their shoulders
Everyone's
is different.
different.
So
yeah, I mean, of course, there are universally good and bad instruments, and I guess, and bows the same. But when you're talking, at that top level, I think it's quite personal. And so, in the end, to answer your question, what's most important for me is whether the player sounds happy on their instrument and with their bow. And if they don't, then you can start talking about things and try and figure things out, or look at the setup.
I mean, presumably when you're teaching as the students, it's important for them to have the right kit.
Oh yeah.
They've got to go and invest quite substantially, I think, in
if they
a
can't
bow.
get it from a college, then they do need to find something that'll take them further than a modern violin and with metal strings. Because if you
Japanese bank to lend them something.
Yes, exactly. It's very tricky, of course, to get that.
So tell me a bit about the Matteus.
Well, this is some music. Yeah, Nicola Matteus, he's Italian who went to England in the 1670s, and he wrote 4 books of airs for the violin. Most of them are for 2 violins. There's also some for 1 violin, but with basso continuo. And then he wrote the odd kind of piece. They're kind of set out like part books. I've kind of copied it so that it kind of works better, so you can kind of play off it. So some of them are for solo violin. For instance, this piece that I'm going to play now is called Passaggio Rotto.